You ever notice how the stuff we chase, that new phone, the big promotion, that dream vacation, it always promises us this lasting happiness, but the feeling just never quite sticks. It feels like we're constantly running toward the next big thing, convinced that one will finally be it, the thing that makes us content. All right, let's get into why this keeps happening.
It's a feeling we all know, right? That excitement of a brand new car just kind of fades into the daily commute. The joy of getting a raise gets swallowed up by the monthly budget. We get exactly what we thought we wanted, and yet our baseline level of happiness just seems to snap right back to where it started. So what is going on here?
Well, psychology actually has a name for this. It's called the hedonic treadmill, or sometimes you'll hear it called hedonic adaptation. It's this incredibly powerful, almost gravitational pull back to our personal happiness set point. It doesn't matter how high we jump after something great happens, or how low we fall after something terrible, we tend to land right back in pretty much the same spot. We keep running, but we never actually get anywhere new.
I think this quote just nails the frustration of it all. The new thing loses its shine. It's a feeling we have all had. And look, this isn't just something we imagine. It's a really well-observed part of our psychology. But here's the big question. Are we the only ones to blame? Or is the system we're living in kind of designed to keep that treadmill spinning?
So how does this little personal quirk become the engine for our whole society? Well, it turns out our economy is deeply, deeply invested in keeping us on that treadmill. It creates what some call the work and spend spiral. You see, our culture basically equates prosperity with spending money. And to spend more, well, we're told we have to work more. In this kind of system, free time, for hobbies, community, or just being, is seen as economically unproductive. It's a threat to growth. So we're encouraged to fill that time with more work, to earn more money, to buy more things that promise us that elusive happiness.
And the human cost of this cycle is just staggering. According to studies in workplace wellness, this number represents the proportion of Americans who report suffering from work-related stress. 8 out of 10. We're working ourselves into the ground, chasing a promise the treadmill is literally designed to keep just out of our reach.
This really illustrates the strange bargain we've made. I mean, despite these massive leaps in productivity since the 1970s, which you'd think would give us more leisure time, studies show American free time has actually dropped by nearly 40%. We got way more efficient, but instead of taking that time back for ourselves, we just channeled all those gains into making and consuming even more stuff.
And this leads to this bizarre paradox, the time poverty of affluence. We're so busy working that we have to spend money to buy back our own time. Just think about it for a second. Fast food because we're too tired to cook, stress relief apps because our jobs are so demanding, cleaning services for the homes we're barely ever in. The system literally profits from the very problems it creates.
And to make sure this whole cycle just keeps on going, it starts young. Marketing relentlessly targets children, normalizing consumerism from a super early age and making sure there's always a fresh supply of new runners for the treadmill. The average 10-year-old can recognize hundreds of brands but might struggle to name even a handful of local bird species. The priorities get set pretty early on.
Okay, so that picture seems a little bleak. I know. We're psychologically wired to return to our baseline, and we live in a society that basically profits from keeping us dissatisfied. So, how in the world do we get off? For that, we can actually look to some ancient wisdom that tackled this exact problem thousands of years ago. Let's start with the Stoics. Their philosophy is beautifully simple. Figure out what you can control and what you can't. Simple, right? We can't really control our health in the long run or what other people think of us, but what we can control are our own thoughts and our own judgments. By focusing our energy only on what's actually within our power, we stop getting tossed around by every external event.
Now, whenever we talk about philosophies like Stoicism or Buddhism, this word detachment comes up. And for a lot of people, it brings up this image of someone who's just cold, indifferent, totally removed from life. But is that really what it means?
I love this quote from a public forum because it just cuts right through that misconception. Detachment isn't about being emotionless. That's not the goal. It's an active, powerful skill. It's the ability to take a step back and look at your feelings without being a slave to them, to take the sting out of a failure so you can actually move on. Think of it as a tool in your toolbox, not a whole personality transplant.
Okay, so let's fast forward and see how modern psychology has built on some of these ancient ideas. We now have evidence-based tools that can help us build a more stable sense of well-being, and you don't even have to move to a monastery.
One of the most powerful tools we have is gratitude, and it directly attacks the whole logic of the hedonic treadmill. You see, the treadmill thrives on asking, okay, what's next? But gratitude forces you to focus on what about right now? By intentionally appreciating what you already have, and it can be something as simple as a warm cup of coffee or a nice chat with a friend, you start to build contentment, and you begin to break that link between happiness and constantly needing more stuff.
And this shows us something really important. Relationships aren't just a safety net, they're also a launch pad. Modern psychology points to two crucial kinds of support. First, there's the source of strength support. That's what we usually think of, the people who help us cope when things get tough. But just as important is relational catalyst support. Those are the people who cheer us on, who encourage our growth, celebrate our wins, and push us to seize opportunities. Real, lasting well-being requires us to actively cultivate both of those.
So okay, we've got these personal tools, both ancient and modern, to help us find contentment. But what happens when we try to apply these ideas to society as a whole? Well, this is where we hit a really surprising and kind of difficult twist in the story.
A really fascinating study from Cambridge University uncovered this paradox. It turns out that policies designed for long-term sustainability, like moving away from a growth-at-all-costs consumer economy, can actually make people feel less happy in the short term. And it kind of makes sense, right? These changes can be disruptive and inconvenient at first.
And this puts leaders in a massive bind. It's a huge dilemma. Do you choose the policies that are popular right now but are unsustainable down the road? Or do you make the tough, unpopular choices that are needed to secure a healthy future for the planet, knowing it might cost you public support today?
At the end of the day, it forces all of us to confront this question, both as individuals and as a society. Are we willing to accept a little short-term discomfort, to intentionally slow down our own treadmills for the sake of long-term collective well-being?
And that leaves us with one final, really provocative thought to chew on. We spend so much of our energy trying to satisfy our desires, running faster and faster on that treadmill. But what if the secret isn't in finally getting everything we want? What if the true path to contentment lies in fundamentally changing what we want in the first place?